Live from Meridian Community College, WTOK-TV, the Meridian Star, and the Lauderdale County Republican Party present a Republican Forum featuring the candidates running for Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this important political forum featuring the 6 Republican candidates for the 3rd Congressional District seat. We'd like to thank Meridian Community College for providing the facilities for tonight's forum. We'd also like to thank the Lauderdale County Republican Party, WTOK-TV, and the Meridian Star newspaper for sponsoring the forum. Now, let's introduce our panelists for the evening. Dr. Kathy Harmon Baxter is well known in Mississippi as a community college administrator, university instructor, Mississippi Humanities Council member, and a person with a deep interest in politics. She holds numerous college degrees, including a PhD from Tulane. With more than 35 years of educational experience at the college level, Dr. Baxter has earned numerous state and national awards. Her goal, to make Mississippi a better place for all citizens. Please make welcome Dr. Kathy Baxter. Keith Hurd is president of Key Impact Strategies with offices in Washington and in Jackson. He was born and raised in Brooksville, lives in Columbus. Keith's a graduate of Mississippi State University, and he's worked in politics at the state and national levels since the 1970s. Former Senator Thad Cochran named him chairman of his 2014 campaign. He then served as Senator Cochran's chief of staff for the 114th Congress. Keith is a longtime member of the Mississippi Republican State Executive Committee and was a Trump delegate to the 2016 Republican National Convention. Please make welcome Keith Hurd. Andrea Williams is no stranger to television viewers in East Mississippi. She's been an anchor reporter at WTOK for about 18 years and is best known for her work on the highly rated Good Morning Meridian news program. Andrea has won multiple Associated Press awards throughout her career. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Andrea Williams. Whitney Downard has covered crime, public health, and pretty much everything in between for the Meridian Star since the fall of 2016 after graduating from St. Bonaventure University. Downard was named News Person of the Year for Mississippi by the Mississippi-Louisiana Associated Press and as Best Reporter for the CNHI Corporation, the Meridian Star's parent company, for her coverage in Meridian. Please welcome Whitney Downard. Now, here are the 6 Republicans running for the 3rd Congressional District seat. They are Sally Doty, Morgan Dunn, Michael Guest, Perry Parker, Whit Hughes, and Catherine Tate. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Now we'll get started as each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves to you. The candidates will go in alphabetical order, starting with Sally Doty. Thank you, candidates. Now let's briefly set up the forum format and rules because this is a live 2-hour forum. Time will be limited and the forum will be structured and controlled. Candidates will be asked individual specific questions later in the forum, but everyone will be asked the same number of questions with equal time to respond to their specific question. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer their specific question. Our first question comes from Andrea Williams. Andrea?
Thank you. This question is for all 6 candidates. Gun control remains an important topic of discussion as we continue to see mass shootings at our schools and other public places. Banning assault weapons, implementing tougher, universal background checks for gun buyers, and passing a gun violence restraining order law have been discussed. What is your position on gun control reform? We'll start with you, Ms. Doty.
I have an A rating by the NRA, and I'm very proud of that. And I do not believe that any sort of gun control is the answer for these terrible school shootings that we've had. I have a son, my youngest just graduated from high school last Friday. And it's just such a terrible plague that we're having right now in our country with these school shootings. What I would recommend is something that actually we passed in the state Senate this year. It did not make it all the way through, but a school safety measure to allow for school safety teams that would allow someone on campus, if the school administration determines that they want this program, that they could designate who could carry on campus, whether it be an administrator or a coach or one person on a classroom wing, in order to provide some security for the kids in that area.
Mr. Guest?
I believe that we can both guarantee our Second Amendment rights and also secure our schools at the same time. The Second Amendment and the constitutional guarantees that we have must be defended. We must protect law-abiding citizens' right to bear arms. As it relates to school security, I would agree that we must give schools the option to arm teachers, administrators, coaches. If we're going to do that, those people must be tactically trained. It's not just enough that they have a concealed carry, but they must be trained to law enforcement on how to act in the event of an active shooter. In Texas, law enforcement responded within 4 minutes and immediately engaged the shooter. But within that 4-minute period of time, 10 individuals lost their lives. I hearken back to Pearl High School shooting in 1997. In that particular case, Luke Woodham first killed his mother at home, then went to Pearl High School where he shot and killed Christina Midifee, Lydia Dew, and shot 7 other students who were injured that day. Luke Woodham was stopped because the school administrator went to his vehicle, obtained his firearm, and held Luke Woodham at gunpoint until law enforcement can arrive. So these things can be both accomplished. We can both secure our rights to bear arms and at the same time also protect our school children.
Mr. Hughes? Welcome back to our live political forum focusing on Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District. Our next question comes from Keith Hurd and will be answered by candidate Sally Doty, Morgan Dunn, and Michael Guest.
Immigration continues to be a hot issue. Would you support the President's proposal allowing nearly 2 million Dreamers a path to legal status in exchange for a wall and other immigration reforms? And what reforms are needed?
So I believe we do need real immigration reform. And I understand that President Trump was trying to use that as a bargaining tool with Democrats in Congress and perhaps even some more moderate Republicans. But that never seemed to work. It showed that the Democrats really did not have any interest in real immigration reform.
Welcome back as we enter our second hour of our live forum with the Republican contenders seeking Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District seat. Our next question comes from panelist Keith Hurd and goes to candidates Michael Guest, Whit Hughes, and Morgan Dunn.
The Farm Bill has a huge impact on the Mississippi economy because it helps our state farming industry, rural development, our universities, and provides nutrition programs. It passed in a House vote just last week. Would you support a farm bill in the next Congress?
You're exactly right. The Farm Bill is vitally important to Mississippi and our 3rd Congressional District. Farming is a very important part of this district, whether you're talking about row crop farming, whether you're talking about poultry, whether you're talking about forestry. Those are all very important industries that affect Mississippi. And so it is vitally important that we pass a long-term farm bill so that our farmers will be able to prepare and to plan for the future. This should not be a partisan issue. There should not be debates between Democrats and Republicans. We should prioritize our farmers just as we prioritize our schools and prioritize our military. So I would definitely support a farm bill, and I believe it's in the best interest of the 3rd District of Mississippi.
Mr. Hughes?
You look at this 3rd District or the state of Mississippi in general, ag and natural resource industries are our backbone. In Congress, I'm going to do everything I can to support our farmers and growers and producers and small business owners. But I will say this, the Farm Bill process is a good example of how we need to improve our process in Washington, D.C. It's, you have an issue where you have members of Congress trying to stuff so many programs and issues into the same bill, and it becomes very inefficient.
Now we'll transition to a few questions submitted by Meridian Star subscribers and WTOK viewers. The first submitted question is from a Meridian Star reader. The question is, the war on drugs is something we've been fighting for 50 years with no end in sight. What's your position on the war on drugs, and what's your stance on legalizing marijuana? That question directed to candidates Whit Hughes, Morgan Dunn, and Sally Doty. First to Mr. Hughes.
Pardon me, Sid. Most of the discussion I've had on the campaign trail in relation to drugs has been consistent with the opioid epidemic that we're dealing with in our state right now. So I'll speak to that for a second. Already in 2018, we've had hundreds of Mississippians die from opioid overdoses. Prescription drug abuse in our state has risen more than 400% in the last decade. This is at epidemic levels. We have to address this.
Welcome back to the final half hour of our candidate forum here tonight. We will have an individual question and later a group question for the candidates. After that, the candidates will give their closing statements. Keith Hurd has a question for candidate Perry Parker.
The Constitution is clear that the Congress appropriates federal spending, not the executive branch. What is your position on congressional appropriation earmarks?
Keith, Congress has given up its authority in the last 20 years to the executive branch. Congress needs to take that authority back and exert control and oversight over the executive branch, which has grown by some measures 200%, some measures 300% in the last 15 years. But you know, part of that solution could be term limits, where we have congressmen who are worried about just staying in office and finding a way to make money as opposed to serving the people.
We'd like to thank all of our panelists for asking some important questions for the candidates here tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. We'll end the night with a closing statement from each of the candidates, and they'll have 1 minute each to make that closing statement. Since we went in alphabetical order for opening statements, we'll go in reverse alphabetical order for closing statements, starting with Catherine Tate.
Thank you, Sid, and thank you, panel, and thank you all for being here. Patriots, interested in the political process. What great questions. And frankly, the last two that I had not had the opportunity to think about in the terms that they were asked, but I was realizing that the fundamental of the issue, whether it's federal involvement in student loans or federal involvement in housing loans or whatever, is the same. The federal government really has no business, and that is my platform.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our candidates a round of applause. Thank you to WTOK-TV, thank you to the Meridian Star newspaper, and thank you to the sponsoring Lauderdale County Republican Party for making this forum possible. Let's also thank Meridian Community College for this outstanding facility in which to hold the meeting, and thank you, whether viewing at home or whether here in the hall, for spending 2 hours educating yourself about these candidates and about the issues so that you can make a more informed decision on June 5th. Encourage you to vote. Thank you very much.